That's what I'm looking for. Now I can see who's coming in. That's good. Then I don't feel like I'm just talking to my phone. I want to feel like everybody who's here, that I can acknowledge you. Great. From Baltimore, Vancouver, California, Minnesota. That's terrific. That's a lot of fun. That makes it more fun for me. Then I know who I'm talking to. So, this is the first of hopefully many Vestibular Disorders Association sponsored live Facebook feeds. And I'm thrilled to bring this opportunity to you all and to see if this is a platform in which you all enjoy learning. There's so much to learn. Technology has allowed us to go at our fingertips and join Facebook groups and find out information and read and learn, but sometimes we miss that face-to-face interaction. So I'm excited to be asked by the Vestibular Disorders Association to bring to you today our first training. I have to tell you a little bit about me. I'm a vestibular specialist in physical therapy, but I talk with my hands. So you're going to see me do this a lot and engage because I got to stay animated to stay excited. I'm passionate about the Vestibular Disorders Association and have committed my life's work in physical therapy to working with people with dizziness and balance disorders. And goodness, almost 30 years ago, there wasn't a Vestibular Disorders Association formally, but there were beginnings of a group of people who felt it was their passion to be there for people with dizziness and balance disorders. So an organization was begun in Portland, Oregon, and it has grown and grown. And if you're here watching, you probably have already seen that VITA, or the Vestibular Disorders Association, has as its mission to bring timely and accurate diagnosis and therapy to all kinds of people who suffer from vestibular disorders. So the vestibular therapy is my particular area of specialty, and really before the word vestibular rehabilitation was a word, I was reading and studying and learning about vertigo and what that was and what people were going to do about it in different parts of the world. So way to go to come and join us from Australia. Michael, it's great to have you joining us all the way from over there. You all who are watching, some of you may be patients or people who are suffering from balance or vestibular disorders, and some of you may be healthcare providers or a loved one. You might have a loved one that has a balance problem. Today I'm going to talk to you about the human balance system, and without further ado, I think we've got a good group to go ahead and start doing that. So we're going to have a conversation about that and talk about the complicated system of balance. You've seen and you've heard me talk about how passionate I am about this, but I am still today in wonder and just in awe when I watch a baby pull up to stand for the first time, or even second, third, or fourth time. How beautiful and wonderful is it to watch a baby stand up and work on balance for the first time? It is a miracle. That same awe I have when I watch somebody who is aging, somebody who is in their 80s or 90s, walk across a room with the balance, struggling with some sort of physical disability. Even to watch someone with a spinal cord injury or a brain injury or any neuromuscular or neurological disorders regain their balance again, or struggle with balance. I'm in awe of the work of the balance system and the wonder of our brain and our vestibular system and the way our neurological system works. So today we're going to talk about that integrated balance system and how complicated it is, but hopefully simplify it a little bit for you and help you see it in a different way. I'm going to talk about normal balance and then maybe mention a little bit about when abnormalities come into those. So, obviously for me as a therapist, I take my balance for granted. I get to work with people who have balance challenges. So, I can appreciate from their perspective what it's like to struggle with balance. But for me and for many of us, we don't have to think about it. It's a complicated system that involves many, many different parts of our body and parts of our whole being, from sensory systems that receive information from the environment, to our motor system that plans and organizes and executes how we're going to keep our balance. It depends on that feedback from the environment and feedback from our body as well. And that then those things teach us how to move and react and have reflexes on how to maintain our balance. But let's talk about that a little bit. What does that mean to get input? For balance, we get feedback from our eyes. I can see when I look around that the walls are straight up and down and that the floor is level or that the ground I'm walking on is stable. Vision helps me, and it is when we're small, it is a primary source of information about balance. It becomes more primary again at the end of our life, as it is when we're developing our balance. In between, though, after at about age 7, another sensory input becomes primary. And that sensory input is what we feel in our feet, and the proprioceptors, or the receptors of body awareness, body motion, body position. Those kinds of things help us in balance then from age 7 up. When we grow and we learn to use our body tells us that my head is over my shoulders, is over my hips, over my knees, and over my ankles. And our body awareness and our proprioception helps us a lot. So we have our eyes that tell us things, sensory information, our feet and our joint receptors. And then the third sensory system that helps us is the vestibular system. And if you're here, you probably already know what that is, but your inner ear is really your internal gyroscope. It has sensors that tell you where's gravity, straight up and down, right? And it tells you when your body is in line with gravity, straight up and down, or tells you when you're tilted or when your body's tilted. And then it also has the semicircular canals, which are responsible for feeling movement like rotation. So if I rotate back and forth in this office chair, there's a semicircular canal that sits in this plane that tells me I'm moving in a horizontal motion, okay? Then if I do this, there's another one that sits in this plane that senses movement in this direction, and then a third canal that operates in this plane that feels rotation motion in that plane. So that X, Y, Z axis of the semicircular canals is so amazing because it really helps you tune in to where your head is all the time, when you're moving through the environment. And then if you're not moving, it helps you know that you're not and tells you then, well, maybe the environment's moving around me. Have you ever been at a stoplight in your car and the car beside you starts to roll and you slam on your brakes because you're like, you think you're moving, but you're not? I mean, that's a situation that occurs to so many of us when our vestibular system is depending on vision. You see the car beside you start to roll, you slam on your brakes thinking you are, but your vestibular system in the background, tells you you're in fact steady, you're stable. The eyes, the body sensors, and the vestibular system, those sensory systems all send information into your brain. The computer that is miraculous. We're born with a brain. We develop a sense of balance as we grow up. But our brain, even when we become mature adults, is still able to adjust and adapt and so forth. So fortunate for those who have any sensory impairment in whether their eyes or their vestibular system or their sense of sensation in their feet, maybe. The nervous system can adapt, but it's this constant integrator. It integrates all this information from your senses and says, what am I going to do with this information? Well, the first thing it can do is cause you to have a reflex or a reaction that you don't even have time to think about. If this chair moved out from under me, I'd likely have a millisecond quick reflex that would keep me from falling down. I might throw a foot out. I might throw an arm out to catch me, but there'd be definitely a reflexive attempt to catch myself from falling. And that's what happens automatically as the nervous system takes sensory information and integrates it. Then, of course, there's things that help us adjust to balance and sensation coming in that we can plan and execute, maybe not on a conscious level, but even on a subconscious level. So if I move from walking on, walk out my front door, let's say, and I step out the front door and I know that there's an ice patch there. I can see that the surface I'm stepping on, or see that there's an obstacle in front of me, and then what? I'll change my whole approach to stepping on that ice patch by taking a slow, tenuous step with a flat foot and being careful. And so my body motor response to what I see in the environment can change dramatically based on my experience. And hopefully hadn't fallen on the ice, but certainly knowing as a child develops, they develop experiences that we store in our mind to know that, hey, there's ice is slippery, you better take it slow. Or walking upstairs, hey, I better lean forward and balance myself so I can get myself up the stairs. If you take a step onto cobblestone or loose ground, you quickly learn when your foot shifts out from under